up, y'all? It's Bernadette Joy. I'm the founder at Crush Your Money Goals, and I help burned out women create and execute their escape plans to financial independence. And I am here to share some tips for you if you are thinking about becoming a creator, a consultant, or a coach. Maybe you're a blogger, a podcaster, someone who loves to help people solve their problems, and you're trying to figure out, how do I make more money doing this? And so in today's video, you will learn my top 5 tips on how you can start creating a 6-figure business, creating content. And this is from my own experience, having been able to grow a business from 0 to 10K months and more, and becoming a debt-free millionaire. So if this sounds like this is for you, stay tuned. We've got a lot to cover, and please be sure to subscribe and like this video so that I can create more content for you every week. Let's go. A lot of you are already familiar with this. Crush your money goals. It's my 5 steps to basically everything in life. If you're not familiar with it, guess what? Get a piece of paper and write stuff down, because not only will this apply to making more money, it'll apply to pretty much any financial decisions you have to make. Specifically, we're going to talk about how this applies to creating money using your content. So let's get right into the acronym and start out with the letter C. C stands for clear the mental clutter. So let's get real in the chat. By the way, let's get real here. To start, lack of direction, not sure exactly how to do it, haven't taken the leap yet, but want to, a little bit of fear to overcome. That's real, right? Need to be intentional in creating content and need guidance just the way it is. So much content, overwhelm, need better systems, lack of true consistency, don't know where to start, lack of time. I know that's an excuse. That's fair. That's not an excuse, it's a fair comment. Like, time is not abundant, right? There's multiple reasons that we're not making money, right? Let me tell you right now, all of that shit is valid. All of it, right? So here are some things that I often hear, which is a version of what some of you guys said. So number 1, a lot of people assume that I need a ton of followers or I need a ton of people already as an audience. It's daunting to build up an audience for a business that I'm trying to do. We podcasters are like, well, you know what? I'm just doing it for fun. I'm just doing it because I want to provide, something to my audience. Like, I'm not trying to make this like a serious thing. It's okay, right? And then number 3, which is what I often hear, and Christine put it in the chat, is, well, I don't want to be salesy. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. Like, that's grimy. Like, blah. Number 1, you don't need a lot of followers. What you need is a niche audience. I make $20,000 a month at least, and I have less than 30 people in my client roster. Number 2 is that all of this will be a lot more fun and a lot less burnout when you're making more money at it. So what do I mean by that? Chances are, if you are burned out, 1, you're underpaid and you're undercharging. 2 is you're trading more time for dollars versus thinking about the value that you're offering. Both of which makes it a lot more fun when you're not having to show up every hour of every day and you're charging appropriately, because then you can use said money to buy things like Blackpink concert tickets. Why people pay me is because I'm providing value and solutions to the particular problems that they are trying to solve. This goes into the R of crush. So we're going to do some real-time work right now. This is real stuff that people said to me. I'm a child advocate and an author. I help women get unstuck, which is a very common one. I help people with their nutrition, fitness, and mindset. I am an author and intuitive healer. I'm a trademark attorney. These are real statements that people said to me, right? In the time that we've been working together, just in the last week or so, we have been starting to level up these statements. Now, we're saying things like, I provide a step-by-step curriculum for parents and caregivers to help kids cope. I help women of color recover from workplace trauma in 6 weeks. I help diabetics and pre-diabetics create a sustainable holistic wellness plan in 3 months. I help divorced women heal their broken hearts and reestablish their identity outside of marriage. I help cannabis companies protect their brand through successful trademark applications. So let me ask you, who would get paid more? The businesses on this slide or the businesses on this slide? One or two? These on this first slide are the same businesses as the ones on this slide. So when people tell me, oh, I have a business, but no one wants to pay me, or I can't attract people, or I don't know where to start, where you start is you get crystal clear on who it is you're serving and how you're serving them and what you're planning to offer them. That is how you get paid. Let me give you like the prime example. Look at number 3 here, right? Let me go back to the original example. So this is another health coach in Charlotte, one of my clients. I help people with their nutrition, fitness, and mindset. So originally she thought that it was enough, right, for her to differentiate from people because she doesn't just do mindset, she doesn't do nutrition, she doesn't do fitness, she does all 3, right? But what we figured out from her niching and looking at her clients, number 3 is I help diabetics and pre-diabetics create a sustainable holistic wellness plan in 3 months. So this is the real research that we started doing. And you need to start doing research on where you need to, where you need to spend your time. And it turns out like 35% of Americans are diabetic and 15% of people are pre-diabetic and 8% of people don't eat, are undiagnosed. Right? So in Charlotte, there's 1.1 million people in the Charlotte metro area. If we extrapolated those same numbers and we took half of those and we said, okay, well, half of those people are women, so it's 500,000 people. And then we took another half that represents the people who are pre-diabetic, diabetic, or undiagnosed. That's another half. That is still 250,000 people that she can potentially market to in Charlotte. Has anyone else heard of a specific coach that focuses specifically on diabetics and pre-diabetics in Charlotte? She's the only one. You need to niche down. You cannot be afraid of niching down because there's plenty of people to serve. Like I said, for me, I only have 30 people in my roster and I make $20,000 a month. Everybody who works with me on their businesses, we're aiming for at least $10,000 a month, at least. Some people are going for more than that, but we're going for at least $10,000 a month. One of the issues that I see for people who are not making money with their content is they have no revenue goal. That covers oh, I'm just doing this for fun, or I'm just going to see what happens. No, you have to aim for a number and then you work backwards from there. That's why this is reversing into one goal. Because $10,000 a month times 12 months minus taxes gives you a 6-figure business. In the chat, why would it be harder to sell a cheap product than it is to sell a high value product? Okay. So Sarah, right off the bat, people don't take it seriously. Truth. Everyone has access to it. Yep. Cheap product, people automatically infer if it's a cheap product and then it's low value. If it's cheap, anyone can make it. You know what, Herb? That is the first time someone has said that. And that is incredibly insightful. It's cheap, they will probably go look for it free somewhere else. And people associate cheap with poor quality. Absolutely. Absolutely. So all of these things apply in services, right? Information is free. Inspiration is free. So there's a lot of people trying to sell their inspirational stories about how they left corporate or how they overcame cancer or whatever it is. I could Google 100 stories about that too, right? You know what is not free? Implementation. Actually getting the result. I have yet to have a client who's come out of my services and said that they didn't at least get their money back. Some of them have 10x, 20x. Some of them have paid maybe $10,000 and got $100,000 out of it. It's implementation. And that is what most people are missing in their content. They're always saying, look at my inspiring story. Look at this piece of information that's really valuable. You think that's what you're selling? No, what you're selling is them taking that information, taking that inspiration, then doing something with it and getting a result. So that brings us to the U in Crush, which is using your assets. It's because content itself alone is hard to monetize, but you can start using content that you put out there to create leads and to user test what people are looking for. And with my Instagram and with my LinkedIn is I use that as the testing ground for the things that people actually want and what problems I can solve. And then I lead them into the offer. So you see that. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like you've done all this TV stuff. Like, how are you doing it? All of that, first of all of that was not paid, right? Although it was totally worth it to watch like Mario Lopez take his shirt off, for sure. I will do that shit for free any day, right? But I use these TV segments to test out what is resonating with people and what do people really want to hear. And I also got those TV segments from having tested out my podcast. So here are the real ways that I make money, right? So one, speaking. So some of you have come to my speaking engagements, right? I get paid to do speaking. Writing. So I take the same content and then I use it to write paid content. So like if you've seen some of my articles in Time, I got paid to do those, $1,000 per article. Consulting, course creation, and coaching, and more specifically, financial independence. Money is not even a small enough of a topic. I coach women on financial independence. So what I want you to understand also, if you're seeing some people who are out on social media who are like, oh my gosh, look at me crushing it. Oh, it's my 2-year anniversary in my business, all this other stuff. The vast majority of people are not making money. This chart here, this number 106,366 is how much I made year to date on my courses and coaching. That's not including my speaking. That's not including my writing. That's not including the classes I teach for things like Skill Pop and stuff. This is just what I make from Crush Your Money Goals. On the bottom here, you'll see this is the amount I've made since I started in 2020. There is real money to be made. And remember, I teach in a very crowded space. I'm sure all of you can name a financial advisor or a money person that you know. There's a lot of quote unquote competition, but what I also want to encourage all of you is that there is not anyone that's going to have your specific take on it with your experience, with the way that you, a lot of you apparently are comedians here, can deliver it in a way that's fun and interesting and different from what people have heard before. The combination of what me and AJ made was about $5,000, $6,000 a month, right? Between the two of us 3 years ago. This is how much money we, on average, come into our household. That is not including the $5,000, $6,000 that we put away into investments, into 401k, right? But if you look at my chart here, my survive category, which is this middle line here, the $4,000, that's what we spend on like our regular household bills. Revive is what we spend on shit like Blackpink tickets and like things that like actually give us life. And then if you notice, Strive is everything that is helping us grow our net worth. So when people are like, when like trolls on Instagram is like, it's not possible for you to have become a millionaire in 3 years. Yeah, it's because look how much money I'm putting away every single month and putting into investments that are then making more money. And so why I'm niched in what I do, there's a lot of money coaches and there's a lot of business coaches. There's not a lot of people who teach you how to do both. And if you notice, even though I can afford to do a lot more shit, I've kept my living expenses relatively the same than what I was doing before. And that's why I'm able to put away a lot. That's why I'm retired now. That's why I'm early retired now. Right? So this talk goes into the Ashen Crush, which is spend shamelessly. Spend shamelessly. If you want to make money with your content, you can no longer treat it like a hobby. That means you must start treating it like a business and think about your content as your best advertising platform. So a hobby has expenses, right? Or things that you pay for, right? It's money that's spent on something. A business has investments. If you don't make investments into your business, it will not grow. You cannot make a business out of thin air. You have to put money in. to it. So here are the things that I think are worth paying for that have helped me personally grow my business. One is Canva, which is how I made this. This is how I made this presentation. It's how I make all of my collateral. It's how I made my podcast stuff. Canva, it's only $10 a month. Kajabi, which is the platform that I use to host all of my content and send out the emails that you guys got to show up here today. That was through Kajabi. It's not cheap. I pay like, I don't know, $2,000 a year for Kajabi, but in exchange for that, I make 200, right? Podcast production, as you guys saw, right? Brian, I don't try to do my shit for free. Professional photography, that is absolutely worth paying for. All of the photos that you see in my presentations, all that stuff came from professional photography. Video editing, I pay for. PR on occasion, I have paid for. So if someone has a connection that they can get me into a place that I wouldn't be able to get, I will pay them for that connection. And then coaching. So for myself, I have had coaching for myself. Particularly, I have coaching right now as a speaker. Right? I have a speaking engagement that is terrifying me in September. And I'm like, I'm not going to try to DIY that shit. I'm going to get someone to coach me on this. Right? So are you willing to put money into your business in order to get out of it? 9 times out of 10, people will tell me, I don't have the money, Bernadette, to spend on the business. And then they expect to like have it grow. It doesn't make sense. You have to put money in to get money out for it to grow. That your business is an investment. So I don't know why I have this here again. Oh, I know why. So here, the other thing I want you to think about, so talking about the cross section between growing your business and keeping the money, I don't want any of you creating a business that you grow more money just to have it go away. So Lori's looking at this like, what the hell is this, right? So here is the thing. Of the $10,000 that you'd be aiming for to make in your business, I want everybody in this room to at least aim for putting away and investing 500 of it right off the top. Because this is the most complicated thing you're going to see today. If you started today at 0 and you put $500 a month, every month from your income, and you let it do nothing but sit there and put it into an investment that makes at least 10% in interest. And if you're wrong, give or take 2%. So if it's really 8% or whatever it is, and there's plenty of things that, we could talk about, like, it's not just stock investing. There's other things you can put money into that would get 10%. Let me give you an example right now. Here's a hot investment tip. I-bonds right now. I-bonds are the current interest rate on it is 9.62%, and it's almost like zero risk. AJ and I just spent $20,000 in I-bonds just the last couple of weeks, right? I'm not going to give it a whole talk about what I-bonds are. You can Google that, right? But if you were to find an investment that made 10% and all you did was put $500 and you just did that for the next, 30 years of your working life or when you have income, you would have $986,000 to retire on. And some people will be like, oh, but that's not really that much money. It's more money than most Americans have for doing almost nothing. Right? And if you want an extra hot tip here, put it into an IRA, an individual retirement account, either traditional or Roth, and it will grow tax-free. You could potentially have $986,000 waiting for you with no taxes taken out. So why I show this to you is because everyone's solution to, getting to freedom and also is to work more. No. I'm lazy as hell. I will find the shortest path to wealth. This requires no work other than getting the $500 to begin with. That's the hardest part. And especially when women tell me investing is complicated, I don't understand it. It's really not. It's really not. So here is the last piece of today's talk, which is hustle smart, not hard. Some of you already have content that you're thinking about. You need to start putting that shit out there. So Heather, who just came back on camera, I'm going to pick on her for a second. She has more engagement on LinkedIn than I will ever hope for. She like puts that post and they get like 11,000 likes. And I'm like, amazing, right? So that is your signal to look at, oh my gosh, 11,000 people like this. What did they like about it? And how can I go deeper dive into that topic? So where a lot of content creators waste time is they're trying to think of like new shit to say and like cute ways to put it on TikTok. And like, should I add a dancing thing to this? No. You need to just put out valuable content. So here's a real life example of something that coincidentally happened today, right? So I put this on Twitter. Twitter is my testing ground for just like saying whatever the hell I want. So for any of you who follow me on Twitter, I'm just like spouting all sorts of random shit. And every now and then one will hit. So this one I posted on Twitter. And if you see here at the time that I took this screenshot, it had 22,000 likes, 5,000 retweets, and 124 comments. That was just something that I didn't even plan that. I was just like, that's something I felt like saying today. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have noticed that I took this same Twitter thing and put it on my Instagram today. And all I did was put a little background reel of me like just blah, 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 right? People weren't liking it for the la, 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 me dancing around. They were liking it for what I said in the tweet. This tweet went out in March. I posted today in July. And let me see. I think at like right before I got on this, there was 10,000 views on it. I'm not trying to create new shit. If it already works, reuse it. If you got good engagement, someone told you that was helpful, that was useful, instead of finding something new, just go deeper on that topic. Here's another example. I wrote this article for Time. It was, I went against everyone's advice and stopped investing to pay off debt, and I'll do it again. And I do it again. So the reason I wrote that article is specifically because I got that question so many times on Instagram. I was like, okay, enough people asked me that I should probably write a full-length article about it. So social media told me what I should be writing in my article. Then I took that article and I spoke it, and it became a podcast episode. You know what's crazy? So many people who follow me consistently were like, oh my gosh, that podcast episode was really good. It was so useful. I'm like, do you not know that that was the same article that you said that you liked like a couple months ago? It's literally the same. Like I read it word for word. So you might notice that I reuse content. That is not a bad thing. How many of you seen a commercial more than once? Yeah, all of us. Social media is your commercials. And it's also putting out to people what your real thoughts are about a particular topic. So in this particular instance, I went against everyone's advice and stopped investing to pay off debt, and I do it again. That was in direct response to an article that was posted the week earlier saying the exact opposite. You need to have a particular point of view to be interesting on some of the things that you're talking about. It doesn't have to be controversial. So let me be clear. It doesn't have to be controversial, but it has to be something that you actually believe. Okay. Here's the other quick tip on not to hustle harder. You don't have to build your own shit for anything, right? If you're thinking of being a blogger, instead of being a blogger, reach out to writers or reach out to publications, see if you can write for them instead. That's what I did with Time. I was like, instead of me writing my own blog, why don't I just go where there's a lot of people already and just write there, right? Instead of having your own podcast, think about the podcasts that might have a similar audience to you and go on their podcast instead. Let them do the editing. Let them do the show notes. Let them do all of that other stuff. And you just show up and talk. Of podcasts that I went on who have much stronger followings than I do. Some of you know Sherry Lynch, right, from Charlotte. Yokara Gennaro podcast, she's like my sister from another mister. She has way more followers than I do. Girl Behind the Hustle is another person. Interestingly, all three of them asked me to be on their podcast. They asked me to be on their podcast because I have consistently put out content that they saw it enough times to say, I need her to be in my podcast because she's saying something interesting. Right? You don't have to build your own. You can think about building something else on someone else's platform. As an example, in the future, I will be looking for coaches for Crush Your Money Goals. You don't have to build your own coaching platform. Maybe you go where someone already has an existing audience and you just coach there. Another example in the consulting is that I went to go consult with another financial wellness company instead of building my own app from scratch. It was a financial wellness company that built an app, and I went and consulted for them instead of building my own. So this is a lot of information. Let me pause and ask in the chat. I have a pretty good retention rate. Only 2 of you dropped off since we started. What is one thing that you are going to do differently starting today? As Sarah said, let's hold each other accountable here. Accountability is important. What is one thing that you're going to do differently based on everything that I talked about?
Congratulations, you made it to the end of this video. Drop in the comments what is one tip that you took away that you can start thinking about how you can make more money being a content creator, a consultant, or a coach. I would love to support you. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel, like this video so that I can create more content on a weekly basis, and stay tuned for more tips on how to crush your money goals and escape to financial independence. See you next time.